make that motion for you to be the chair.
Yeah.
Okay, so my understanding is Chairman Crean will not be available this evening, so the first order of business is to appoint a chair to open the meeting.
Make a motion to have Rob be the chair for this evening.
Yes, I second.
Yep.
Okay, the January 19th Town of Goffstown Sewer Commission meeting be brought to order. We have an agenda in front of us. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Seeing no public participants, we will move on to the approval of the meeting minutes from September 22nd, October 18th, and October 25th.
You have them all there.
Did you get these minutes from the, did you take these minutes or did you take them from the tape?
I listened to the tape and then I transcribed them.
So we have, what, 3 sets of minutes here?
Yes.
Well, I think we should hold off on the minutes till Steve is here, because if Steve is mentioned in the minutes, then I think he should have an opportunity to amend the minutes if he feels something's incorrect. So I'd make a motion to postpone these minutes till we have all 3 commissioners here.
A second. In favor?
Aye?
Perhaps before we go too much further, when we make introductions, start to my right.
Collis Adams, Selectman's Representative.
Ellen Noyes, Administrative Assistant.
Tim Redmond, Sewer Commissioner?
Rob Trapaz, Sewer Commissioner.
Mike Arago, DPW.
Mike Walton, DPW.
Mike Trank with Hoyle Tanner and Associates. It's all Mike's on this side. The three amigos.
It's the cool club.
Straight flush. Okay, under new business, 2016 annual report, narrative, budget, and photo are due by Thursday, February 16th. Like, did you worked on that narrative?
No, I didn't. I never did the narrative
You
for that.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you did last year.
Did a narrative for the CMO,
Oh.
but I can do it if you want. I can put something together, then I can email it to you, and
Okay.
you can look at it and see what you think.
Oh, I thought you did it last year, because Jim wasn't here any longer.
Maybe I did. I know I did CMO.
You did, see, Mom, but I think you did, and then you forwarded it to me.
All right, well, I can do it. I can do one.
We have more time this year than usual. It's usually due next week.
All right, then I'll email it to Rob.
Any comment?
Not on the narrative. We already did our budget, right? And we
Right.
approved that. We sent that forward to the committee. Okay.
Right,
So all we
And
have
they
left is a
have-
photo.
yes.
Make sure Steve is here, we can get our photo done.
Yeah, I think when we get to new business, or I'm sorry, other business is warranted, we may need to schedule a meeting prior to February 16th to handle some other business.
Fine.
And I'd recommend that we take care of the photo at that time, and we can all come to a consensus on the narrative, too.
Okay.
Next item is an audit initiation.
Just wanted you to know that this is the time of year when the audit of the previous year begins. It's just, I've
Happening.
gotten a list of things that they want from the sewer department, and I usually take those and give them to the auditor.
Just as a point of clarification, because I haven't been through a full
That's right.
audit yet. I'm assuming this is a townwide audit, and we're a part of that.
Yes,
Do we participate in paying for the audit? How does
Yes.
that get?
we do. We have our own audit line. It's
Okay,
usually somewhere around $6,000. It's in the budget, because they submit the amount prior to our budget being done. And they do ours, I mean, they do ours separately, as far as looking at all of our expenditures, accounts receivable.
and you said we have a list of information, is that?
You don't have it. I just received it today. It's several things that they always look at. And all of those refunds, anything that we gave back.
So we'll be receiving some correspondence on that? from
Yes.
you? Next item is the 2016 sewer replacement project, certificate of substantial completion for park construction. Comments, gentlemen?
No comments?
It's to your satisfaction?
Yeah.
Anything outstanding that has not been done?
We just have one invert that hasn't been repaired because when they did College Road, they took the manhole off, cover off, before they could get back to do that, so they'll be doing it this spring.
So they took the cover off and they bindered over it for the
I
winter?
drove over and put a plate, so we
So
just
when
left it.
when you raise the manhole in the cover in the spring, that's when you'll get
That's
the
when
invert?
they're gonna have Martinez come back.
Yeah, it's just an invert that was already existing, and
Okay.
they dropped it and they cored in. They got rid of the inside drop, and when they cored, they just missed it by an inch or so.
So they just have to put the brick and mortar in there and fix
They
it?
just got to take some out because it's got a little bit of an.
Take some out and retune it.
And how much retainage? Or is it $371,000 contract? Is it 5%?
It's 2% retainage.
How much?
It's 2% because they're
2%?
completed. So right now, we're about we're about 300,000 because there's, out of the 5 roads, we paid for 2 of them being paved. So DPW picked up the tab for the other 3 roads. So they dropped the payment systems quite a bit. So we are saving money on this project, quite a bit of money.
So basically, we're holding $7,400. They're about 2%.
Roughly, I think it's like 83 maybe.
Oh,
or
it's
something.
300,000, let's call it six
Yeah,
grand.
So, yeah.
So the work that's left is less than,
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
this is a second payment, right, Mike? We've already made one
One
payment?
payment.
This was the second payment?
We didn't make a second payment.
Oh, this is a single payment on the whole project?
Right, we didn't do a change order yet to justify the reduction in payment.
Were there any extras that were unanticipated?
No.
so we will get that executed after the meeting. Sewer permits. Could you explain the comment new secretary to issue?
That was a request from Mike Yurgo. How are they going to be handled?
This is whether it gets handled at highway or at town hall?
Well, yeah, because you're gonna have a new position, it's only gonna be working 20 to 25 hours.
Mhm.
People come in the afternoon, if they haven't heard, person work in the morning, then ain't gonna be nobody around to do the permits in the afternoon.
Well, I think that according to the job description that we posted, it says to assist the public with the preparation of permits and license forms. So what we could do is, because there is other staff there, we could leave a basket that has permit applications in it, that someone could at least pick up a permit application.
Well, they're in the computer, they're computerized.
Well, then we're going to have, we talked about this because we didn't want to shift the work down to Kathy down at DPW. So between us, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to handle it then, because it is going to be a 20-hour to 25-hour
Right,
position.
and people come in the afternoon.
Well, then they'll have to come back the next day.
Well, the problem you get into is somebody's got a clogged sewer, and they want to excavate that afternoon, we tell them go get a permit. Well, if you can't get a permit,
Well, maybe we're going to have to work it out that you guys would be authorized to issue a permit in an emergency.
I mean, I'm not talking for Adam, but I would think that you probably would have your street excavation permit and your sewer permit all in the same spot. It makes it easier for the public and also makes it easier for a contractor to come in.
Well, if you can work it out that Kathy Wilmot will accept the responsibility to issue sewer permits, but in our discussions with the town administrator, we did not want to
Right.
shift work onto Kathy Wilmot.
So, I mean, something's got to be rectified in between, you know.
But hasn't it been street opening permits have been at DPW before and sewer permits have been at the town office building?
It's always been that way.
Right, so you'd like to consolidate them?
I like to consult them, yeah, I would. I mean, I haven't talked to Adam about it or not. I mean, he'd be the guy to talk to, the farmer.
Well, if you'd like to be the go-between, we would be more than willing to work with DPW, but once again,
Because I don't want to get permits lost in the shuffle, and that's the problem I get
Yeah, we have a road
into,
opening permit anyways, right?
basically. And that's the
Mike,
thing I get.
we'll work with you as long as it is, agreeable to Public Works that Kathy Wilmot would take on that responsibility to issue sewer permits.
Ask Adam.
I mean, part of this is you can pick up a permit at either location, as far as I'm concerned. That's no skin off of anybody's back.
Well, they don't have it
No, the
there.
problem is you've got to, it's the $50 you have to pay to get it. Who's going to be responsible for that?
Okay.
So I think this is something we
It's
should
because-
you have a discussion with DPW, find out what they are willing to do, and then bring it back to us, and we'll all agree on it. It's fine with me. Whatever expedites the process and makes it easier for the customer, that's what I'd like.
I think it would myself, but,
Yeah, it's all about customer service.
right. And
I'm good.
I think
Yeah.
one-stop shopping, I think is the way to go, especially now we're making that change.
We just, in discussions with Sue, it was not assumed that we were going to shift work onto Kathy without asking DPW, and we just never crossed that bridge, Mike, to be quite
Right.
honest.
Needs to
It
be
was
a-
how it used to be, so we didn't change it,
Needs to be a discussion there.
definitely.
I agree.
And if it turns out that Public Works is willing to do that, we can put the application form on the DPW computer, have IT do that, so that it's there. And then if that's what the agreement is, then we're more than willing. How many permits do you issue a year on average, Mike? Would you say 50? Would you say 100?
It can be,
It depends on development, too.
No.
If you get a condo unit of 22, if they ever build a one on Mountain Road, each unit's gonna have its own permit, and you're talking 75, but
No.
then if you're talking regularly, you probably get repairs, you probably get 20 a year.
So it's a conversation you need to have with Adam and find out about how much they're willing to take on. I'd also, I'd like to also develop some sort of a check sheet for a customer so that they know each item they need to do, so that they don't complain that, well, we didn't know we needed a street opening permit, or we didn't know we needed this, or we didn't know we needed a drain layers license to fix the sewer.
whenever they come in for a permit, they're told all those things.
Well,
The problem is, some owners come in, pull the permit, and then they send their guys. Well, if they don't convey it to the guys that are doing the job,
well, would you like to have a system where only the drain layer could pull the permit and not the homeowner? That way, the person who pulls the permit is actually
Well,
licensed
not
to
even
do
the
Well, they
homeowner.
do that in Manchester. When you become a drain layer in Manchester, you have to go to DPW, get their permit. It's not the homeowner, it's whoever installed the
yeah, but a lot of
sewer.
times it's not even the homeowner, it's the owner of the company will do it. Will pull the permit, because he carries the checkbook. And then when the guy comes time to do the job, he's off doing something else, and it's his men that show up to do the job.
Are they licensed drain layers?
Some of them are.
Well, I do know that DES required that any septic installer, I can't have the license and have my men putting a septic in. The licensed installer has to be on the site. So I think it should be the same with us. If we're going to have a drain layers permit, that if the owner has the permit, he can't send his crew down to do the work unless the owner is physically on scene. And whatever you guys recommend, we're willing to work with you. Mike, you look like you're not agreeing.
Well, most of the people, a lot of times, somebody has a plug sewer, they would send a drain layer, and they fill out the application, and they sign, and she puts the homeowner's name, and they sign it as an agent. Just like a septic system. You get a septic system, you have the applicant, and you also have the designer and installer. They sign it for the applicant.
In order to sign off on it, I guess we can work with you on however you want to do it.
I'm just trying to close a loophole, that's all.
I believe you're all there. I'm good. Okay,
So we'll carry this over to the next meeting.
to the next meeting,
Um,
if you guys could get us some
Yeah, we'll
information
get you some.
on what DPW wants to do.
Moving on to old business. Mr. Trank, would you give us a, I think all these fall into your court.
Sewer use ordinance. The last draft was October 24th. Rob had gone through and had a number of comments, so we went through and revised those. That's all complete. Couple of caveats on that. There was discussion about eliminating two sections. One was regarding, I believe, private sewers, and the other was septic systems. There was discussion that, the sewer commission shouldn't be regulating that. So Paula did discuss that with DES, and they indicated that those provisions have to be in there, although some portions of those could be deleted, but those provisions have to be in there because it addresses generation of wastewater in the community. That was their reasoning. So we did remove a couple of paragraphs from those sections, but those articles, if you will, are still in there.
So they remained in the draft, Mike? You
Yes.
left them in?
Right, we did take some paragraphs out, but the articles are still there.
Okay.
What is the commission's duty in regards to private sewers and septic systems if those requirements are indeed governed by DES? I understand it deals with generation of wastewater, but
Yeah, that's a good question.
there's some level of responsibility for the commission that's implied.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not sure I have a good answer for you. I mean, the issue with, like, septic disposal is, obviously, they don't, I'm on the new draft, page 88. They just want to make sure that, you know, it's not, I think with septic, I think the concern is they don't want to have things being arbitrarily just discharged in manholes or, you know, not having any control on it, I think is the issue there.
So we're looking at septic disposal.
So is this for pumpers, basically, Mike?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Pumping
reading.
trucks?
Yep.
I would say so, yeah.
But this is all directing towards Manchester, which is consistent with the,
Mhm. Right. You know,
I guess my thought is, I thought you were talking about septic systems.
Yeah, you really don't have any, I don't think you have any obligations per se. I mean, everybody's required to have some valid functioning means of wastewater disposal, but I don't think it's within the commission's responsibility to, you know, to make sure that if there's a house that's not sewer, that's on private septic, that, you know, I don't think you've got an obligation there, and I could be wrong, but I don't think you've got any obligation there to make sure that that system is working and in place and all that.
Right, I mean, I think the intent before was, you know, we don't approve the
Right,
on-site disposal systems, we don't regulate them.
pretty much.
We just get waiver to tie in to the source for a septic system, disposal system.
Mhm.
That's the only thing that's,
Yeah,
that
that's,
the soil commission has got any authority on is
Yeah.
commit a waiver.
Yeah.
Somebody just, you know, puts in a septic system, then you put in sewer the next year.
Right, well, and that's
Waiver.
more the sewer hookup requirement.
Yeah, but you also, they can come in for a waiver.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Or if it would prove too
Mike-
expensive.
Do we have a copy of the draft that was, my comments that I could, when I review this, because
yes.
Yeah.
Of course.
it really stinks to have to read it
I get it.
Again,
So this, so Mike, if
cover
I,
to cover.
Mike, if I could be clear, this section 13, in your opinion, this is directly related to septic tanks being emptied by a licensed hauler, and then that product being delivered to the City of Manchester's wastewater treatment plant.
Or some other treatment.
Or some other
facility.
treatment.
Yeah,
Okay. So we don't have, it's nothing to do with the actual system itself or anything to do
Yeah,
with
but
it.
it's not the town's responsibility.
Correct.
For the EDA system.
yeah, and the only other comment, I think, would be that, you know, obviously you don't want a hauler popping a manhole at 3 a.m. and discharging into the town's collection system, so you need to have some control of that.
But also says inside the ordinance too about that.
Yes.
It's in there, the language.
Right,
Plus it's in the industrial pre-treatment too, I think.
exactly. Yeah, so it's well covered.
But Tim, my thought is I will review this relative to the notes that I made before.
I have one more question for Mike. Sure, Mike. Mike, you talked about private sewers. Is that a section in this ordinance?
It is.
What section is that, so we can look at that, since you mentioned it?
Let's see.
I'm not putting you on the spot. I don't expect you to have it memorized.
Kind of were.
He can look for it, and if you can take his time to look for it. I'd like to know what your definition of a
I was
private
gonna say,
sewer is.
is there a
as well.
definition for
That's probably the definition section.
private sewers? Definitions, page 7.
Should be in the front definition.
See, section 2.2, that's private individual subsurface disposal.
2.2?
Yeah, that's, I don't know if that's private sewers per se. That's on
Number
26.
4's, number 2, private individuals, it's not page 26. Private individual
That's-
subsurface disposal,
The subsurface disposal.
but it sounds like a septic system.
It does, yeah. I thought there was something, an article on private sewers as well. It escapes me right now.
Yeah, page 16 defines private wastewater disposal systems.
But that's fine having a definition there because it doesn't.
Okay.
I could be wrong on the private sewer then.
But it's not like a private, what about situations where we have community sewers and such?
I mean, there are such things as private sewers, you know.
That's what I was wondering.
Where it was built by, you know, a homeowner or developer or somebody, and the town, for whatever reason, never accepted it.
I know some developers have put in private sewers within a development to a community leaching system. For instance, the parks have that down at
they do.
Glens Falls and Medford Farms.
Yeah, there's
For instance.
even, there's cases where the private sewers will discharge into the public sewer, but the town keeps the responsibility for operation and maintenance on that private sewer with the developer or property owners or association or whatever.
Is that what happened at Morgan Estates? Because we charge
I
some,
don't know, what happened at Morgan Estates, Mike?
They deal with everything inside. It's just like the old Shaw's building, like they have a pumping station. They maintain their own pumping station. It just gets pumped to us.
oh,
But if
okay.
something happens to the pumping station, they fix it.
We've had that on a private residence on Mass Road one time. The guy put it up his driveway, put a manhole right up by the road down before Shaw's on the left, I remembered, right, Mike? I remember that project.
It was a force main that came all the way out.
Right, and you had to put a manhole in at the road so it could
Right,
gravity
because
into the system.
we don't let force mains into our system. They have to discharge into a manhole, then gravity to us.
Correct, I remember that. Now, just for discussion, some of these new facilities, like Walmart is a for instance, they're building their own on-site wastewater systems. Would they be excluded from that in Goffstown because of our ordinances, or would they be allowed to do something like that? We don't have any restrictions to that effect, do we?
Well, the only thing you have is a 150-foot rule.
Yeah.
That you, when the building's within 150 feet, you have to hook onto the municipal sewer system.
Now, does places like Walmart do that for cost effectiveness, or because they want to build stores where there's no municipal sewers available? Do you have, I wonder
Probably
about
the
that.
latter.
The latter, yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe they were doing it because they wanted to
Then
be
if they
self-sufficient.
do that, then it's under the responsibility of the building inspector.
So that's not an issue for us.
Shouldn't be.
Okay, good.
Well, actually, it seems like that instance is covered under 2.2 on page 26. You read through it. Talks about permit for private wastewater disposal system.
Just curious.
And then at such time, public sewer becomes available, blah, 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 90 days. And we may grant a waiver to that effect.
Mike, you and I talked about someone who a person who fails to comply with our regulations in terms of doing a repair or putting a sewer line in. And in your conversation with the police department, do we have a means by which we can,
I was informed we do under the,
Penalty.
yeah, there's a
Penalty?
penalty thing, and plus it is I believe, the officer said it
read-
was
that's
a
where I am right now.
misdemeanor
Okay,
with a fine, and
but I mean, is it a legal consequence? I mean, something legal that we can have the police department take action on our behalf?
yes, according to the officer, it is.
Do we need to list that in our,
Well, I think
Documents,
Mike actually
Mike.
talked to Paula, too, and she's the one who pointed it out to.
it's in the penalty section?
I think there's, yeah, I think it's on there.
Page 80?
80?
It used to be in the back.
Judicial enforcement.
We have supplemental enforcement action, civil penalties. Okay, we should have this, yeah. Well, I just want to be sure that we have sufficient documentation to discourage people who decide they do not want to pull permits, who do not want to have drain layers licenses, and who want to tell you, as our agent, I'm putting it in on Saturday, I don't care whether you can look at it or not, because that's not acceptable.
Yeah, you can get an injunction for violations.
Yeah, Section 10 lays it out pretty clearly, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as that's in there and you're satisfied with it. I'm good.
That's contractors, but homeowners have their own whole set of, a homeowner can do something on their own.
They can install the pipe their own, but they have to still get a permit.
They have to pull the permit to at least let us know they're doing it, and it's supposed to be inspected and all that, but they don't have to be drain layers, they don't have to get a lot drain
And
layers.
that falls under all the rest of the rules, you can wire your own home, or you can put plumbing in your own
You can do
home.
your septic
Yep.
You
system
can put your own
yourself.
septic system in
Primary
under the
domicile-
law.
Primary domicile only, yeah.
Yep,
And that includes sewer pipe on private property only, Mike?
Yeah.
Not in the right-of-way?
yeah, because if you come to the right-of-way, you would need to be bonded, you would have to have all, you know,
Street
once you hit
excavation,
the
certificate
street,
liability.
the right-of-way.
Road review permit.
So if someone does a repair in their backyard on their own property, do we not have any recourse?
They're supposed to pull a permit, and it's supposed to be checked, but.
Inspected.
And inspected, right.
Oh, I mean, right here, any person or industrial user who willfully or negligently violates any provision of this ordinance or any orders or permits issued hereunder shall upon conviction be guilty of a violation punishable by a fine not to exceed $10,000 for each violation. And it goes on with a bunch of the RSA references.
Okay. I'm good that we have it in our language, that's all I
Yeah, I
want.
think-
Yeah,
I
and
think- I think you're
10.4, 10.4A kind of covers everything else. You've got quite a bit of latitude there.
Yeah, I think it's covered.
The other thing that's in here too is, it doesn't so much apply if, say, a homeowner is on a private well, but if they're on a public water supply, you do have the right to have the water shut off if there's ongoing violations of the sewer use ordinance.
Up to a point, I'm sure, when other agencies get involved. Okay, well, thank you for that.
And Mike, to be clear, the accessibility fees and the sewer, I guess it's just the accessibility fees, that's an appendix
Yes.
to this document?
Yeah. We're recommending that it be an appendix so that anytime you change, like, your fees, you don't have to go back and have it be a change to the sewer use
Open
ordinance
up the ordinance,
itself.
yeah.
Yeah.
So where you have it now on the page 121, we will add to that, Mike? The accessibility fee date stuff will be added to this?
Back on 118.
Because you have the accessory fee of your follow procedure.
It's back on 118.
I'm sorry?
It's on 118, it's back a couple pages. The
Oh, I'm
accessibility.
sorry, thank you very much. I missed that.
And refresh my memory, but the accessibility fee schedule includes as an appendix to that document, the EMV subsurface wastewater generation tables for,
I believe
Well
so.
estimate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and that was one of the
Yeah.
provisions we put in that document that's
Mhm.
still
I
outstanding.
believe so, yeah.
So, where I was going with this is the sewer use ordinance can be approved independent of the accessibility fees.
It can.
And then at that time, we would just make a change to modify the appendices of the sewer use ordinance.
Correct.
Be nice to get that all done at once, so when they put this book together, we don't have to have them redo the book.
So then maybe we follow, Mike, I'm gonna put you on the spot again, like Trank, that is. Full side of mics there.
Mike 3.
Yeah. So the accessibility fee update, if I remember correctly, we were looking at having the sewer user rate sufficiency updated to then lead us to a conclusion on the accessibility fees?
We're undecided on that at this point, am I correct?
Right.
And do we have it as a flat rate, or do we have it on a per gallon basis based on what's going to be discharged?
Boy, I don't remember.
I thought it was gonna be in a per bedroom.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
looking at,
Because I did some inquiry over it with Jeremy Spooner in Bedford, and they do it on the, like you're saying, it's a bedroom calculation, it's based on the discharge of the house, based on the DES
Yes,
guidelines.
loading rates, yep.
Right, and that was the appendix that I was referring to.
Right.
So a 3-bedroom house is one accessibility fee, a 4-bedroom house is a different one, and on as we
And
go
a
through.
two-bedroom, which is a lot of apartments, is a different one.
And then an industrial place has to prove how much water they're going to discharge, and then that's based on that as well.
And there's schedules for all of them.
Yeah, commercial
Okay,
and
good.
industrial
Thank you.
facilities, yeah.
So we have to decide on the accessibility fee, so they can put this whole document
The
together.
treatment units, I think it's treatment units
Yeah, it
right
is.
now.
What's that?
Right now, it's treatment units, right?
It's all treatment units. It's still
So,
gonna be treatment units. but-
450 gallons per
one.
day is one treatment unit.
Right.
Yeah, 3-bedroom house, right.
It's been that way for a long
Three-bedroom
time.
forever, since from day one.
Yeah.
So we don't go any lower than a 3-bedroom, we don't allow for 2 bedrooms.
Right now, you don't.
I thought there was provision in the existing for like a
If you
half
got
a
accessibility,
treatment.
you got,
that's an
That's
in-
for like
a
an
retail
an in-law
outlet.
apartment.
you got,
Or like a
you got
retail.
accessory dwelling at 600 square feet
Yeah,
is a half a unit.
okay. I thought there
It's
was,
right there on the, yeah, it's on the bottom paragraph, 118.
So my recollection on the accessibility fee is that there were a number of different ways of calculating
Mm-hmm.
the fee. And we were at a point where we were trying to determine which one was in the best interest of sewer ratepayers.
Right.
And I don't think we came to a conclusion there.
Maybe we should have that as an old business item for our next meeting, so to get this thing wrapped up and be able to pass the information on to Hoyle Tanner. But I would like to see this book all come together with all the elements of this book so that it can be printed once and bound once and be done one time.
sure.
I agree. The sufficiency update, we have a proposal
You do.
to get that work done. I thought we determined at some point that we couldn't move forward with that till after the March meeting, but I don't have
I'm not
details at my
remembering,
fingertips.
I'm not
so-
remembering, Mike.
I'm not sure about that. I know Steve had indicated, I think he brought that up back in the fall, but he indicated it's something that he didn't want to move forward with until after the first of the year at least. I don't know about March town meeting. That could be a budget thing for you guys, I don't know.
So I think the first thing to do is to revisit that proposal. Now, the results of this update would be based on sewer use rates, would be one part of that sufficiency update?
It's all about the rates. So what happens is we get all kinds of financial information from Ellen, and that goes into this huge spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, and scenarios are run, assumptions are made about cost inflation, like say 3% a year going forward, revenue generation, debt obligations are taken into consideration. And then that's looked at over a 5-year span. And the determination is made, based on running the numbers as to whether it's projected to be sufficient revenue with your existing sewer rates to cover your operating expenses every year for, each year for that 5-year period. So, and then however that shakes out, it is or it isn't. And then if it's not, then based on what that shortfall is, we make recommendations as to what modifications, if any, you would need to make to your sewer user charge rate.
So it's independent of the accessibility fee.
It is.
But it,
Mhm.
in some ways, is related too, because it all affects the bottom line.
It all affects the bottom line, yeah, but it is independent as well.
So in terms of, I guess, completing these three tasks, it looks like we need to address the sufficiency update, get a handle on that, to then address the accessibility fee and incorporate all that into the sewer use ordinance. Does that sound reasonable?
Yep, and do you want to discuss the items in this memo publicly right now, or leave it alone?
I think we should probably wait till we have a full complement.
Then let's do it. Fine.
And then the last item on the old business was the
Just
Daniel-
going back, if,
Oh, sure.
you know, if you do have any more questions or comments on the sewer use ordinance, the latest draft,
Mhm.
obviously, you know, we'll address those. And then I think the next step after that is we would have to submit it to New Hampshire DES for their review. And I don't know if you want to run it by legal counsel or not.
Have you made any major changes that you think will be, that are going to give us trouble? Or
No.
have we made any major changes? Well, then I don't know that we need to submit it to legal counsel if we
Yeah.
haven't made changes that we are.
Yeah, I don't think you do either, but you do want to run it by DES.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the more reason, I think, to make sure we have all the correct appendices in the document, so you don't end up with a serial review.
So do you want the,
If,
Do you want the
just throw
accessibility
this out
fee?
there, if you did want to, like, expedite, say, the sewer use ordinance, you could still keep, you know, your current appendices as you have them, as they exist, to get, you know, DES review on the sewer use ordinance, if you wanted to do that.
Just
So
as a
it didn't,
partial review.
well, it wouldn't be partial, it'd be a full review, because the appendices sort of stand independently.
Mhm.
You know, what you're really concerned with, and what DES will be most concerned with is the language in the body of the sewer use ordinance itself. So you could do that on an independent track if you wanted to.
well, that makes sense to me. Why would we want to wait? Once you've reviewed it for your last time, if you have no questions or comments at our next meeting, we can vote to authorize Mike to send it, as
Okay?
long as you don't have any major changes.
And then once DES is, that process is completed, I think Steve had mentioned doing a public hearing of some type for this, which would make sense.
Do you have any idea on turnaround time at DES based on their past workloads and your experience?
I don't think it would be very long, just my guess.
Was it going to be concurrent with the city of Manchester as well? Were they going to look at it?
They should look at it too, yeah.
Good point.
Very good point.
Well, if we're not making any wholesale changes, I doubt if they're going to, unless we've,
I agree.
you know, taken any of their protections away from them, which I doubt we have, if anything.
Yeah,
No,
we
I
haven't.
mean, in reality, I think all we did was clear things up and remove extraneous language that was,
Ambiguities.
yeah. and,
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel Plummer?
Daniel Plummer Road,
Yeah, I just threw that in there because it happens to be an currently active account or project, but there's nothing going on with it. That came up because there was potentially a developer looking at Route 114, and the way that they would have to get sewer there is probably via Daniel Plummer Road. So, you know, we looked at an updated estimate of the cost of installing the sewer lines on Daniel Plummer Road, but I think that one can be closed out unless there's some other reason to look at that again, but I'm not aware of any.
Just for discussion purposes, if you were to opt to put sewer on Daniel Plummer, would it be all onto the commission to pay for it, or do the landowners in front of each one of the
You
residents
could
have
do it
portion?
any way you want.
What's the past practice been? If you sewer a road that does
A
not have...
lot of those, like the
They were-
condos and things, they're already on, so you're not gonna get anything from them.
50% on Daniel Plummer Road is already on sewer.
They go out the back.
So anything in the industrial park is what is not on sewer.
On the left, on the right side.
On the right side going up to St. A's is not
The
on
witness,
sewer.
the Jehovah's Witness building on
Yes,
sewer?
it is. Everything on the left is on sewer.
If they come out on the dead ends,
So we'd be providing sewer for
Very few.
very few, at fully at our expense? I don't
Well,
think,
usually you have to do your expense, then you, when they want to hook up, you charge them the accessibility fee, or they divide the cost with the accessibility fee.
Yeah, or you could do a betterment that's specific to the project.
Right.
And just split the cost of the project among all the users that would benefit.
if they agreed to pay for it.
If they want.
Right, if they agreed to pay for it, yeah.
So it could be a great big debacle for us, a big money burner. Normally, those type of projects happen when somebody wants to do something, they will pay for the sewer.
And right now, nobody's questioning about having sewer.
the thing
Okay.
is, a lot of those places already have plenty of land.
For on-site septic system.
And I mean, even the gym over there, their leach field wasn't put in all that long ago.
Under the parking lot or something like?
It's
Uh-huh.
off the size of the big lump in front of the building.
All right, thank you. So what are we talking about possibly putting that to bed for now, at this point?
Yeah, I would say so.
We'll have to discuss that at the next meeting as well, with Steve, because that'll be a three-man decision.
Yeah, but, I mean, there's no open tasks, there's nothing
No.
currently pending, so.
Yeah, I don't think it needs any action. We would just close it out.
Warrants, that's it.
We'll have to review the warrants, and then other businesses warranted. We have some applications here for new position
Good.
that are still sealed for us to look at.
Ellen, what is your last day?
As of now, it's a week from tomorrow.
All right, so we probably
27th.
should look at those applications after the meeting. Well,
Well, what I was gonna propose, presuming there's more than one.
There is, according to Sue said, applications.
that's
Okay,
fine.
we should probably set a time for some interviews
Yeah, well, we have to, yeah, I
and to
agree.
make a decision. So the deadline for applications is when?
I don't know.
The 27th? Would it make sense to schedule interviews for maybe the 30th? Is it a Monday?
I'll meet whenever you want. I just don't want to run this to a situation where Ellen is not at the office and there's no one there if we can get someone in place. That would be my goal. So the sooner we do the interviews, and people generally need a week or more, or even 2 weeks in some cases, to arrange to start another job. So we're up against a deadline right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't asked Ellen to stay any longer because we don't really want you to be inconvenienced if you don't want to be.
Oh, I could still.
You could stay a little longer if we needed? All right, good. That's all that matters.
So the 27th is a Friday, the next Monday will be the 30th. So I mean, that's about as close as we could.
Just because
Not to hire Amy.
just because the deadline is the 27th, doesn't mean you can't review applications and interview applicants prior to the deadline. You can do that prior to the deadline. So I'm willing to step that up if the rest of the commissioners are.
I'm out of town till.
Well, I'm going to open them up,
Thursday, so-
I'm going to open them up tonight and look at
Yeah,
them
well, we're
myself.
gonna open them up, sure. But then we could have another meeting, maybe the 2nd to make a decision. Try to get the process
Absolutely.
moved along.
Absolutely.
Any other business?
No. Well, I do have other business, yeah, now you mention it. Mike, last year, Public Works kind of let out late their plans for the road plan, and you were kind of, isn't that what you said to us, that they were a little late getting the sewer bid out because Public Works kind of let you in late on what roads are being
Yeah,
done?
Tommy did the engineering and all that.
Where are we for this upcoming season?
I'll be starting on the engineering in the end of February
For,
for the 2017 replacement.
do you have those locations in your CIP schedule that you want to follow
Yeah.
them? You gonna make any changes?
Not right now. The only question I'm gonna have is either Either we go out for public bid, or we try to get the contractor we had last year to do a change order to extend the contract with the same units.
Well, we had some discussion with the town administrator about bidding practices and what we can and can't do, and as long as we do it by the book, I'm okay, but I don't want to do anything that's going to put us in any jeopardy. We'll confer, you give us what you think is acceptable, and then we'll check with the town administrator and the finance director. Make sure we do it by the book. We didn't get a per-foot price or anything, did we?
Everything's units.
It is units?
Everything's
So
units.
we could ask for an extension to extend last year's bid at the same unit pricing? Well, that would be legal, I'm pretty certain.
Yep,
Same thing the town does with like Continental, if they hold their prices.
Yep, they're extending their
All
contract.
right, well then, we're more than willing, because we know the
I'm always
quality work.
supportive of that approach.
We do know the quality work that Park provides.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, as long as she wants to keep the unit pricing the same.
that'd be up to them, right?
Yep.
All right, we can discuss that when you get your proposal together for us.
I don't see any reason for a non-public session, do you?
No, we don't have anything in non-public. Well, unless you want to go over them in non-public.
Why don't we wait till we have a full complement?
Okay,
Steve's got the history there, so
okay. We'll let him decide.
you had to decide, but I haven't part of the,
Well, I mean, we'll
Process.
decide if he wants to
I see.
do something about it. Okay.
All right.
Motion to adjourn if there's no other business.
Seconded?
Aye.
All right.